It was just another quiet night in Los Angeles until it wasn't. Without warning, armed vehicles rolled into neighborhoods, helicopters hovered above rooftops, doors were kicked open, and in minutes, families vanished. No court order, no warning, no time to say goodbye. June 6, 2025, while the city slept, ICE launched one of the largest immigration raids in American history. Over 4,000 National Guard troops, 700 Marines, a full-blown military operation on US soil. But the question is, why? Why did this happen now? Why was it kept so quiet? And what really happened that night? This isn't just about immigration. This is about fear, about silence, and about the power to disappear people in the dark. Keep watching, because what you're about to hear was never meant to be seen. The operation officially began on the morning of June 6, 2025, but its true intensity revealed itself as the day progressed. Los Angeles, a city home to millions of immigrants, documented and undocumented, became the epicenter of a federal enforcement campaign that had been weeks in the making. It started quietly. Reports came in from the Fashion District where workers noticed unusual activity, unmarked vehicles parked outside, agents in plain clothes monitoring movement, and sudden road closures that made no immediate sense. Then the detentions began. Agents moved swiftly, targeting individuals in garment factories, storage units, and parking lots. In Paramount, a neighborhood known for its large Latino population and tight-knit families, ICE surrounded a local Home Depot and detained workers as they left their shifts. Word spread fast, but fear moved faster. Entire neighborhoods shut down. Businesses closed their shutters by midday. Schools reported dozens of children who didn't return after lunch, likely pulled home by terrified parents. By the afternoon, civil rights organizations had already confirmed at least 44 people were taken into custody in the downtown area, but that was just a fraction of the total. By evening, the number of those detained across Los Angeles County had reportedly climbed past 118. Community hotlines were overwhelmed with calls from families unable to locate loved ones. Immigration lawyers described scenes of chaos, phones ringing non-stop, people begging for information, and many unable to even confirm where detainees were being held. What made this operation different was its scale and the backup. This was not a typical ICE operation. By nightfall, military-grade support had arrived. The government had ordered the deployment of more than 4,000 National Guard troops, with many stationed around federal buildings and major city intersections. In an even more controversial move, 700 active-duty Marines from Joint Task Force 51 were dispatched as reinforcement, equipped and ready for urban deployment. This was no longer about immigration enforcement, it had become a citywide lockdown. LA residents weren't just watching a crackdown, they were witnessing a transformation. Federal law enforcement operating alongside military units created a level of tension that hadn't been felt in decades. Neighborhoods like Boyle Heights, South Central, and parts of Koreatown became ghost towns overnight. People didn't dare step outside. Community leaders and state officials reacted with fury. The governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles accused the federal government of using immigration law as a weapon of fear. They demanded immediate transparency, how many had been taken, where they were being held, and under what authority the military had been mobilized on urban streets. But those questions went unanswered. For days, what had begun as a quiet sweep had grown into a national controversy, not just for what was done, but for how it was done. With force, with silence, and with the clear intent to make sure no one could stop it in time. They weren't expecting a knock. Many had just finished breakfast. Some were getting ready for work. Children were still brushing their teeth, packing school bags, or waiting at bus stops. That's when everything stopped. Agents showed up without uniforms, often in unmarked vehicles. No explanation, no translator, just force. In some cases, doors were left swinging open, meals still warmed on the table, a parent vanished mid-conversation, a mother taken as she walked her child to daycare. Entire households were broken in a matter of minutes. no time to call a lawyer, no warning to relatives. In several cases, siblings were left behind. Young children suddenly alone, confused and crying. Calls to ICE went unanswered. Detention centers refused to confirm who was in custody. Even local schools began reporting missing parents at afternoon pickup. For many families, it wasn't just a raid, it was erasure. One moment they were together, the next they were a name on a list, if they were lucky. The terror wasn't in the noise, it was in the silence that followed. Legal experts questioned whether the raids violated basic constitutional rights like due process and protection from unlawful searches. Many arrests were made without warrants, without explanation, and without legal access. Lawyers couldn't find their clients, and families had no information. The use of military force, secrecy orders, and lack of oversight led many to ask, did the government break the law or rewrite it in silence? To many observers, it quickly became clear what unfolded in Los Angeles wasn't just an immigration enforcement campaign, it was something far more calculated. The operation wasn't limited to criminal arrests or targeted deportations. It swept through entire neighborhoods, shut down public spaces, and paralyzed daily life in communities that had long been part of the American fabric. What started as a crackdown on undocumented individuals began to resemble a broader strategy of intimidation and dominance. People who had lived in the US for decades, some with children born on American soil, were treated as if they had no place in the country at all. The message reached far beyond those without papers. It reached documented immigrants, refugees, citizens in immigrant families, anyone who looked like they might belong to the wrong group. Access to such insights as a turning point. This wasn't just about immigration, it was about power, who holds it, how it's used, and how easily it can ignore the lines that once separate law enforcement from militarized control. In the end, the raids didn't just reshape lives, they reshaped the question. What kind of country is this becoming? What happened in Los Angeles may not have made front-page headlines everywhere, but for the families who lived through it, the silence was the loudest part. This isn't just a story for immigrants, it's a story for every American. Because when rights are taken from one group without resistance, it becomes easier to take them from everyone else. Staying informed isn't optional anymore. It's a responsibility. Ask questions. Demand transparency. Don't wait until the knock is at your own door, because history doesn't warn you when it repeats itself. It just expects you to remember what you've seen is more than just a news story. It's a warning. If this video opened your eyes, don't let it end here. Share this with someone who still thinks it can happen in their city. Like the video if you believe the truth deserves to be heard. Subscribe for more stories that others won't tell you. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay informed, stay free.